Yeah. All right. So we are back final uh for the final session, and strangely an entirely different setup
Yes,
because we are
yes.
shooting this in an entirely
Yes,
different time
had some
as a
technical
whole.
difficulties in the morning, and we were not able to
Yeah.
continue our show. So we decided to take a nap and beat the heat instead of struggling with internet and heat and power and all those things. And we decided, chalo, let's chill, let's chill as much as is possible in this heat, and then let's come back in the evening. So here we are.
Absolutely. Here
Yes,
we are.
and Roger has eaten some birthday cake, so we are very happy for him. I have
Yeah, thanks to everybody who wished me.
yes, and so we wish Roger all over again, and then carry on with our show. I realized,
Absolutely.
in the first part of our show, there's one thing we do: we freewheel too much. We freewheel far
Yes.
too much, and I mean, we are so happy to do this show that God knows where we end up. So at least in the morning, we were talking about the Inukshuk.
Yes.
And I was talking about my disc which crashed and how I got a techie to attend to
Hmm.
the disc. And I went off at a tangent about the whole heritage and history of the techie.
Yes.
So we forgot in the process, forgot all about the disc. But no fears, I didn't forget the disc. I dropped an Inukshuk there where the disk was, where the crash disk was. So I have remembered to come back to the crash disk and tell you what went with the crash disk. The play I read
Okay.
in 2006 with my mother, which was
Hmm.
about, the next level of alienation. If you look at, for those who are watching the Alien series, All the World's a Stage. And then we go on to
Yes.
the next part of it where we come to the adult aliens. We have adult aliens and we have juvenile aliens all coming together. And unfortunately, all those brainstorms we had done, my mother and me, those very folders went off with that crash disk.
Oh my goodness.
And at that point, I was not, my setup was not very good. I didn't have a backup hard disk. I had backups here and there. I had backups on, other devices. And somehow or other, we were not able to recover that part. We recovered some part of it, but we were not able to recover a lot of it. So that sort of the way the corner of the aliens, the play was eaten, the notebook was eaten. Notebooks are vulnerable, hard disks are vulnerable. So too
But
are
you have a lot of the, I mean, a big portion of the plot in your mind, right?
the plot is very much in my mind. It's coming back
Okay.
to me. The plot is coming back to me now after all these years because I realized yesterday when I was stirring the kheer that I was stirring the kheer back then, and that's when the Stairway to Heaven started playing in my head. I was standing in that very spot stirring the kheer, and that song started irritating me. I was having this earworm. The song went on and on and on in my head. So I stopped stirring the kheer, took a break from the kheer, and came and turned the song on. And that's when mom sat and watched it. And
That's so sweet.
yes, and that is when I got this vision of the lady going up the staircase. And I had already been brainstorming on the play. But the whole thing, what I actually wanted to say in the play, we had been going along, exploring several lines of we are going to do this play, so we could take it up this way, we could take it up that way, and I kept visualizing different scenes from it. But
Yes.
when the song got to me, that was the definitive guide to how to write the play. After that, the song, Led Zeppelin songs and Deep Purple songs drove the script along. And now years later, I'm sitting with this other play which I had sent you a bit of yesterday, and you gave me a feedback also, very interesting feedback, which has brought me to a theme which I won't cover. But this is again heritage. Now, when you said that, that the play basically is about people standing at crossroads.
Right.
Because
Right.
alienation again is a crossroads. When you come to think of
Absolutely.
it, there are two people crossing each other. There could be a collision, there could be a coming together, a merging, whichever way you look at it.
Yes.
Suddenly at that
Yes.
crossroad, at that point, I visualized a roundabout like a lazy Susan. I got this mental picture, and the people, instead of colliding there, they find themselves spinning in a dance around the roundabout. And then I realized the very crossing that you had told me about, which is Gariahat crossing. Okay, spoiler,
Yes.
spoiler,
Yes.
people, but it's okay. We can give away because, Project HearthFire is always a collective venture, and we always welcome ideas from all of you. One of you is going to say, okay, what's going on at Gariahat? So I immediately got the mental picture of the same Gariahat, say 40 to 50 years ago on a Bandh day.
Really?
Yes, I
Okay.
got that mental picture. There is no flyover there. We can't have this scene with this flyover and the way that place is laid out now.
Right. Right.
I was getting this clear mental picture of that very junction on a Bandh day and how the whole personality of a place changes on the Bandh day. And the Bandh day, in a sense, it is a tabula rasa, it is a blank sheet on which you start writing a story.
Right.
And these
Right.
very crossroads became the blank sheet for me. And I was seeing this clearly as a black and white photograph taken aerially. I mean, who took aerial photographs then? A helicopter?
Yeah, the helicopter. I don't know. Drones, were drones there
What
at that point
drone?
of time?
50 years back,
Drones.
drone. What was a
No, the drones were not there.
50 years
No,
ago?
helicopters or
50
something.
years ago, a drone was that lazy male bee whose only job was to have sex with the queen. And then be kicked out. That
So,
was the
so
drone.
then,
So,
yeah, so then we go with helicopters probably.
so I guess at that time, helicopters were what would have taken the pictures for you.
Yeah, I
A
guess so.
person
That would
on
have
a
been a
helicopter would be taking,
heavy budget
because
movie.
yes, because no, now we don't need a heavy budget
Now
movie
we don't need. Now
because
we have
we have
cheaper tools to do that.
we have our good friend AI now.
Yeah, we have our good friend AI. Yes.
Never replace us, but AI can be used to do what we cannot do. What we cannot
Absolutely.
by any means do. Are we going to break down that flyover to get back that crossing? No, we are not. You know
No, we're
how
not.
holograms are used, hologram projections are used to get back a lost heritage, a lost reality.
Yes, yes,
So
yes,
that
yes.
is another thing you can do.
Yeah, there are softwares too.
I keep on thinking that I'll take old photographs of what my paradise looked like from my window, and I will use this and project it onto this ugly house over here. And my living space will essentially get back my paradise for me. So you can do something meaningful with all this technology.
Definitely you can. Definitely you can.
You can create your lost reality. You can create the reality which you hope for, which you want. There is a lot you can
Right.
do, but what will we do with it? With our monkey brain, we will start driving all the people out and saying, okay, AI is going to replace all of you. You're all drones. Go home and have sex with your queen and let's get lost. I mean, so I'm
So,
sorry to sound a bit
yeah.
cruel, but the heat is getting to me.
So are we saying that this script or working on this script is probably the first thing that Project Hearthfire is gonna be all about?
Uh,
Is it about that?
well, no, because the first thing Project Hearthfire is going to be about is to rake in the mullah from somewhere. There are some very basic
Okay.
steps which I'm listing, and I'm not going to keep jabbering about these things because it's much better to lay those out in one of those infamous PowerPoint presentations, or even maybe just a set of slides which we prepare in advance, and then at one of our shows, we simply do a screen share. We just
Absolutely.
roll that presentation along for our audience, and they can see
Right.
what the steps are, because these are very practical steps. There are certain things we have to do before we get this heritage home into any kind of. Today I showed you some of the heritage.
Yes, you did. You did.
That what I showed you is really the tip, the very tip of the iceberg, so to say. But this iceberg is, hardly an iceberg. It's like something like, let me introduce Project Stepwell, which was actually the
Okay.
predecessor of Project HearthFire, because that was the
Okay.
last major project that Kim and I did together. Coming back to Kim Breaks, with whom all of you are now very familiar with. So Project Stepwell was literally about doing some research on the stepwells of India.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it was about the importance of water and about how we connect with water, and now we lose our connections with water. So you see, this water, as I say it now, is about a lot more things than this water you're drinking from this bottle. It's the essence of life. So it is like the lost essence of life in any form. And this, like the stepwell that Kim and I researched, was Rani Ki Vav, which was buried for 800 odd years, and which was happily excavated and discovered.
That's
And its whole
that
history also.
holds a
Yes,
big history probably.
yes. And this is a widow queen who built this.
Wow. I mean,
So
it sounds really
yes, a
fascinating.
woman did this.
Yes.
And I won't go into the history of that. Plenty of that history is given on my Chakratirtha page. I'll give links to that. And there's any amount of scholarly work which has been done on it, including now you can add to it the thesis that Kim wrote. And
Right.
one of the very beautiful epiphanies we had when we were traveling, and as part of this project, she also traveled to Varanasi. And you see,
Okay. Okay.
Varanasi from end to end is
Hmm.
as our research associate at that time, Nipun Srivastava, who is a native of Varanasi, had in a
Hmm.
flash of insight. He said, "You see, this whole of Varanasi is one step well.
Absolutely.
Varanasi is, if you have been there, is
Right.
but a series of ghats. You have steps and you go down to the water. Wherever you go, you have
Absolutely.
steps and
Yes.
you go down to the water. And that's
That's
exactly what
technically it.
and that water is your nourishment. It is everything. It is also your final release, which the wells, of course, the step wells are not that. The step wells are one way. You're not going to
No,
put
but then
anything.
again, water is something that gave birth to, civilization as a whole, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes. So that's very important. And Project Stepwell was about excavating a lost heritage.
okay.
And if you
Okay.
look at Project HearthFire, it is again about many aspects of lost heritage, many of which need to be physically excavated out, many of which
Right.
need to be brought together through fragments, lost fragments of stories, broken pieces of dreams which have gone awry, little pieces of fulfilled dreams. We have to bring all those together into one melting pot, or into one
Yes.
circle around a fire, or one circle around this lilac lamp, this violet flame, which is going to be bonding us all. And if you look at this house, this home, the history behind it, the history of the people who were all part of this home, who one by one have passed on, you see, you will see these layers. Now I have to sit and excavate this history from my memories, from the memories of other people who have connected with it, from physical objects like photographs, like objects. When you pick up an object, the stories around the object come back to you. Like I
Yes,
picked up so
yes,
many objects
definitely.
this morning and I started telling you the stories around them.
Yes, yes,
But there's an interconnection between all these. And it's when you bring all those connections and weave them together again, that is when you have managed to recreate and sustain your heritage home in a form that you
absolutely.
can pass down to posterity. I mean,
Yes,
people who come here now, unless they are very insightful and intuitive, and I have quite a few of such friends who have come here, and there are people who have come here and they have said that I get a very, very interesting vibe from this house. And there are people
yes. I
here
mean,
who very mindfully look at the objects beneath the dust and the chaos and make sense of it. And there's one person who came here and said, your house is like my mind. So
that's
you
so
see
beautiful. I mean,
from
wow.
this, so from you see from working, and I said my house is like my mind, and you see it is that a kind of shift in the mind and a remapping of my mind is what I'm working with, because if I don't do this, I can't do anything physically in this
Right,
habitat. So it is all
right.
these links. Like if I give you one, if I show you an object, there isn't one, but there are hundreds of such objects. But who has
Yes, there are.
classified them?
Certainly are.
If I walk through this house every morning once, I see the interconnection between the objects in a different way. Each time I see it in a different way. So each time, if I were to write that down, what I saw this morning and how I perceived it, and I collect this for three.
It's like a kaleidoscope.
Yes, I come back to my favorite object of all, a kaleidoscope. I had a beautiful kaleidoscope here, and something went wrong with it. Something went kaput with it. And my mother said, no, we will give this kaleidoscope to the Bikriwala.
Ah,
And I had these lovely binoculars with which I would look at my paradise, bring my paradise close to me, my beautiful garden, which is lost, where the infamous number 16 has now parked itself. And one fine day, my mother saw rust on the binoculars, and she said, the binoculars are going to the Bikriwala.
oh my goodness.
My mother
That's
did such a horrible thing. There's this beautiful, beautiful rosewood cot
hmm.
that she slept in when she was a child.
Oh.
And she had brought that cot here, and her
Hmm.
babies have slept in it.
So it has been there for generations.
She came here with a 6-year-old and a 6-month-old in
Hmm. Hmm.
1949, and a lot of furniture was made for this house, and a lot of furniture was also sent across from, because she had just about hardly 2 years or less, she had run her establishment in the heritage home, which, if you will give me a moment, the sort of, in a sense, the ancestor of this home is that home. And
Exactly.
in the previous episode, I spoke about the women of the family who came together and raised the children, and how
Yes.
that was registered in my mother's name when she was 8 years old.
When
So
she was 8 years old, yes.
let me pause and share a screen with you all.
Okay.
And
Okay.
let me see if that screen share goes through. Just a second. I need to, I can't minimize this. So how do I find what I
Uh,
need?
I think you'll find a screen share screen
Yes,
option
yes.
The
I
center.
have a share screen option, but let me find the screen first.
Okay.
Okay, so here we are, and I'll come to share screen. Are you able to see that screen?
Yes, yes. Now I can. Okay, this is your house.
Yes, this is the lost house.
Wow.
This is the
Wow.
house of broken dreams, which of dreams, maybe dreams never fulfilled, because this house has been a guest house, so to say. This house has hosted so many people whom uh, whom the house actually didn't belong to. And if you have a good look at it, you can see there are two floors. There's an upper floor there,
Yes, yes.
and you can see that that portion is covered up. But when my
Yes.
mother used to live in the house, downstairs, upstairs, the full house she lived in. She grew up in this house,
Okay.
first of all. She grew up in this
Okay.
house till she got married.
Wow.
She got married in 1939. In
Hmm.
1947, she came back to this house, and she
Okay.
set up
Okay.
her home in this house. Her father was staying in this house by himself. And at that
All
point
right.
in time, her father got an assignment in Bombay. Her father was a barrister. He got a job, a government job
Okay.
in Bombay. A government,
Okay.
yeah,
That means your grandfather.
my grandfather, he took a job. Like,
Yes.
he took a break from his practice to take up a job. So
Okay.
he took this job, and the house was empty. And right at that time, my grandmother, my Thakurma, my father's mother, caught hold of my
Hmm.
mother and said, go, you have a house now. Go, be comfortable. You don't live in the joint family. Take your baby, go and live your life. The house is yours. Why should the house lie there? So much for
That's sweet.
patriarchy. So much for patriarchy. That, see, I'm showing you this. This
Yes.
belongs to my grandmother. I think I spoke about,
The bangles. Yes.
yes, this is hers.
All right.
That very grandmother packed off my mother, bag and baggage, and she mm, took a picture, a tangible painting of Krishna,
Okay.
and
Okay.
placed it, set up an altar for my mother. She
Okay.
consecrated it with that a Tanjore painting of Krishna, which is pretty ancient, something she herself had inherited from somewhere. And my mother worshipped that Krishna, and she set that up for her, and she said, "You have a little child, now God bless you with another little child." And before long, my mother had just about, they used to cook on, they didn't have gas and stuff like that.
Yeah, they used to cook on the.
They had the old clay,
Yes.
that unun, in the kitchen.
Yeah.
The old fashioned,
The burning coal unun. Yes.
you would have seen that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
once again, patriarchy or anti-patriarchy. My father would get all the wood, chop it up, start the fire for my mother every morning. And then before long, they got hold of, again, somebody, my grand aunt, my lovely grand aunt, my Thakurma's younger sister, who was
Hmm.
very much younger than her, and like she was almost a playmate of my father. My father didn't call her Mashi, he called her by her name. And
Okay. Okay.
yeah, so they were like playmates. There was 4 years difference. And
All
they,
right.
4 years or 2 years difference. And they would, like, they were playmates. And she said, I have this cook, this cook is sitting without a job. Take him. And she
Okay.
donated a cook to my mother because she saw her struggling. Nobody wanted my mother
Yeah, because she was in an entirely new
because
place, no?
she was in her old home, but she
Okay, she was.
was in her old home. That was her old home where she grew up. But
Okay, this one.
she grew, yes, this one. But then she grew up. I mean, she didn't grow up slaving in the kitchen. She had a very careful.
Absolutely.
There were like some cook or other, and like I told you about the mashis. So like one meal would be cooked in this house and another meal would be cooked in another mashi's house. It was like that.
Wow. I mean, that's something that we miss out on these
Yes,
days,
so
no?
tonight lunch is here and dinner is there.
Dinner is there. Right.
The
Yes.
homes are sharing the same space, the same compound. So it's like,
Absolutely.
and there was the other Mashi who had a house, and she was single, and she had lost her husband, and she had lost her child also, unfortunately. So she was
Okay.
all alone, and she said, "What am I going to do with a big house?" So she rented out her house.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she would stay with the other. And the third Mashi had a home in the village.
Ah, right.
She had a whole lot of cows and they had land. They lived by the river
Yes.
bank, and this is where these people would go for their summer vacation, and they would picnic on the river bank, and
River banks and
whole
everything.
lot of
Yes.
stories I have around that. And that river bank picnic is what got us so fond of going to our own very own river over here and having picnics there. There's that from the past.
The riverbanks over here are not, so much
Not
picnic-esque.
and riverbanks there also have changed a lot because every little village has
Yes.
got urbanized. But anyway, I think you have
Uh,
seen enough of this picture, so I'll stop the share
absolutely.
and soak it all in, because you see that whatever is there on top of the picture of
Looks like a glass
this
glass covering or
looking
something,
like a
no?
glass covering, but actually it's just a metallic grill kind of thing.
Okay, okay. It's just a
And these windows didn't have the bars when my mother lived there.
oh right.
The
Okay.
windows were wide open, and these the window you see here on the
Hmm.
ground floor, and
Hmm.
all the windows on the ground floor had
Hmm.
Belgian colored glass
Wow.
in three
I mean
shades.
that.
Yeah, yeah. So when evening fell and it was
Hmm.
lighting up time, the house would glow like a church.
Wow.
And it was one of those really beautiful things. I have enjoyed this myself. So it's was a sight to see. And when you came in from the driveway, the first thing that greeted you was like this little church-like edifice, and you drove along and you drove straight towards it. So I could go on sharing this house, but I have a lot of pain around this, also because this house is no more. And
Yeah,
I don't want any more
as you said.
houses, whether they are as beautiful as this or as plain looking as the house I live in. I don't want any more houses to be no more. And Project HearthFire is really dedicated to this beautiful house.
So Project Hearthfire is very strongly dedicated in preserving one's heritage, if I'm not wrong.
Absolutely. See the HearthFire.
That's why the Hearthfire, no?
Father getting the wood, lighting up that fire every morning.
Yes. Yes.
For him,
And just like the candle, what you do is you pass on the fire
yes,
to the
yes,
next generation and
yes. And that
so on and so
fire
forth.
in 1948, they
Hmm.
shifted from this beautiful house to
Hmm.
this house where I live now.
Okay.
So they left that house behind again. For my mother, it's always been, being for a little while in a house that is hers and then leaving it behind. So all over again, she left the house behind. And when she came here, my grandmother
Hmm.
at the station shoves a heavy thing into my mother's hand. And those days, first class compartments, they were a luxurious ride.
Right.
It was like they
Yes.
were all personal. It was completely detached. You didn't have this corridor system, with the people walking through and cutting into your space. And I think Zoom is
Exactly.
taking some panga now. So anyway, I'm back here. I stopped that screen share, and I think we'll have to do one more round because I have the tree to share. So
Right.
it is that you see, I'm giving you the history of that HearthFire.
Yes.
So even though, unlike the Zoroastrians, nobody carried the fire all the way from there to Kolkata. Uh, the same people came here and they lit a hearth fire here.
Absolutely. That's what they did.
And they didn't have, initially, that time, there was pipe gas being supplied everywhere.
Ah, right.
Now, Bombay has that, and Kolkata doesn't have that because of some panga getting gas from here, getting gas from there. Successive governments have ruined this. But that
Right.
time it was called the Oriental Gas Company.
Okay.
And
Okay.
initially, our family didn't have any connection, gas connection. So after that hearth fire there, welcome to the fires here inside a flat. So you take chulas and you take charcoal stoves and you take all those things and you light a fire with them. The good
Yes.
thing is the old cook from those days arrived here and decided to be
Ah,
the old
okay.
cook here. So he was the one who would do all that. He would go out, light up these things, finish with, let them chulas. Now you have everything smokeless, this, that. But those things would really, really smoke up. That was the original smoking up. And so
Yeah, I
after
remember.
the
I
chula
remember.
had finished,
Uh,
and inside a flat, I mean, there was no provision for having a chimney because the chimney would have sent smoke
yes.
out to the neighbor on top of me. So so it's a very different setup. It's an
Yes.
antiquated setup, but it's an apartment building of those days, and
Yes. Yes.
plenty of ventilation. But after coming from a house like the one you saw, it was a very strange experience for my mother. So back
Yes.
to the hearth fires. Then talk of international connections. We discover a Japanese lady as our neighbor living on the ground floor
Wow.
to a Bengali. And that Japanese lady comes to know, sees the chef coming down with all the chulas and this and that. And she says, wait, I want to talk to your employer. And then she catches hold of my father and she says, good evening, Mr. Rao. I see that you're having a lot of trouble with fuel. Uh, just fill up this form or whatever it is. I work for the Oriental Gas Company and pronto you will have pipe gas in your flat. Look at the good luck.
That's such a
Pronto,
good luck.
right?
Yes.
Pronto, the gas company was sitting in the building.
Yes.
pronto,
Yes.
pronto, the gas arrived. So these once again we light up a good hearth fire and then we cook like mad, and not we, I didn't exist then, but then the days of everybody coming over, people coming over from Madras, everybody having a good time here, the
Yes.
happy days commenced with that. And that was very early on. So that is another hearth fire story. And I'll less than 1 minute. So I'm just quickly going out of here and quickly coming in again. I have a couple
Right.
more pictures.
Right. Right.